We grew up on a dairy farm. When you live on a dairy farm, you learn animals are not our pets. Our father taught us this. Our kids all grew up on the same dairy farm with Papa John and loved all the farm animals. Papa raised steers every other year, and we knew that those steers were going to go and fill our freezers. One summer, all the grandkids got together and they wanted to name a couple of those steers. They named it Thunder and Lightning. They loved those steers and they played with them every day for well over a year. Then one afternoon, they went to Papa's and those steers were missing. It's hard to explain the life cycle of a farm animal to young children, but we did our best. One night at Papa's for dinner, we brought up packages of meat, and my son Hunter asked, "Is that thunder or is that lightning?" Papa John, as nurturing as he was, responded, "Does it really matter? They'll both be delicious." I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the man I knew as my father and a grandfather, and some of the lessons we could only have learned from him. My father used humor in many ways in order to teach us life's valuable lessons. Growing up with him, my siblings and I have stories mostly about the things we probably shouldn't do, such as borrow a boat, especially when that boat belongs to the sheriff. As he put it, it would have ended badly had my buddies and I gotten caught. We're all here today to show our respects to a husband, a father, grandfather, friend, and a neighbor. I'm sure if you spent time with my father, you would have a few quirky stories of your own to tell. My father was a farmer that taught us about the food God gives us, a father that got us ready for the hard lessons in life, and a grandfather that took life in stride and didn't sweat the small stuff. A farmer is a very special person. God provides them with the skills needed to grow food for their families and the strength to get up early every morning for 365 days a year, regardless of how bad they feel. My father was a great farmer and provider and taught us the value of land, hard work, and why we needed the animals we raised. Raising animals is an important part of growing up in rural Wisconsin. Many were our pets, like our cats and our dogs, but some were also food sources for our families, such as the one and only time we raised pigs. Dad thought we should raise a few piglets one year. We had a black pig that was my brother's, a pinkish pig that was my older sister's, and a red pig with big black spots. That was my pig, Thomas. My younger sister was too little to own a pig. These little guys were our pets, and we played with those pigs all the time. When they got bigger, we would go out and ride the pigs in the shed. And we spent so much time with them and with Thomas that I forgot what the purpose of Thomas was, which was not to be my pet pig, but God and my dad knew other plans for him. One day after school, my mom was making dinner as she usually did. We sat down to eat, and she had made delicious-looking pork chops that were smothered in a creamy mushroom sauce. As we began to eat, I remember my dad saying, "Yum, doesn't Thomas taste good?" I'm sure there were a few tears shed over dinner that night, but I learned again that Thomas and his friends were given to us so we didn't go hungry. This is how my father provided for us all his life. We've all had pets at least once in our lives, and I know my mom and dad wished we didn't bring home every stray animal we found. I asked my older sister what fond memories she had of our father, and she told me a very vivid and horrifying memory she has. Most of our cats lived in the barn with the cows. My sister's cat was a beautiful black and white cat that tried to come into the barn through the big window fan. He was hurt pretty bad, and my dad saw the damage, and he knew that cat was in pain and wasn't going to make it. He did tell my older sister about what had happened and how he helped end that poor kitty's life. He told her the only thing in reach was a hammer, so I had to hit it in the head with a hammer. I think the look on her face probably made him feel bad, but he wasn't really good with emotion other than humor, so he chuckled a bit. I think this left a bad impression with my sister, and apparently my sister has never gotten over that. But he also took that opportunity to teach us about life and death, and not everything is planned. But we have to accept that when God calls his animals home, he wants them now and not when we're ready to give them up. Our father was not just a great father, but a fun-loving grandpa too. He enjoyed spending time with the grandkids on the farm, taking them to auctions, going to the car wash, and listening to music that we've all learned to appreciate. Living close to your parents when you start your own family is priceless. My kids spent more time at Grandma and Papa John's house than they did at their own house. They did so many things with Papa John, and they have so many wonderful memories too. Papa John was a fun-loving grandpa who, with the grandkids, acted just like them. They all loved to get in the vehicle and just drive. Many Saturday nights was going to the car wash that excited my kids. Saturday night was a night my kids looked forward to. It was when Papa John would pick them up around 8:30 at night to go to Quick Trip to go to the car wash. He would get gas, and because he didn't know how to pay at the pump, he would go into the store to pay, but would also get snacks for the ride home and a car wash. He came clean shortly after the first couple of times, saying he really only started taking the kids because he wanted to make sure he didn't know how to use the car wash, so he wanted to make sure that his new truck stayed clean. Obviously, teens who don't drive know much more about this stuff than he did. After a couple of months of the same routine, he had asked me if there was another way to get a car wash because he didn't really need the gas. He thought he could only get a car wash if he bought gas first. I'm not sure if he ever really learned how to buy a car wash without buying gas first. My kids enjoyed the Saturday night car washes, but I think they saw Papa's personality when a Blondie song came on. Wherever he was, the kids said he just cranked the radio up to Blondie and drove through whatever parking lot was nearby with the windows rolled down. When we were kids working in the barn, feeding and milking cows, my dad would put in that old 8-track tape of Blondie and tell us the cows liked Blondie just as much as he did. We couldn't stand listening to that old music, but over time, I think we all have a great appreciation for Blondie. Our father loved life, and his family was the most important part of his life. When my older sister graduated high school, we put into place family nights, which were every Thursday and every Sunday night. Our family had a deep appreciation to each other every Thursday and Sunday nights. These were family nights, and we would get together for dinner and conversations. These nights, we could just let loose after a long day of work and school and sit around a dining room table and enjoy each other's company. Thursday and Sunday nights were very important to my father, but I think is important to all of us as well. We talked about things that were going on in our adult lives, the challenges we had with our kids, or the fun things we did the weekend before. Sometimes the most enjoyable moment at the dinner table was just to hear the laughter and to make fun about the people that we loved, because that's what families do. When someone's birthday would come around, we would celebrate it on Sunday nights. Mom would get a cake and candles and make dinner. After she passed, I think Dad tried hard to remember these things, but since he went to church with me every Sunday, I helped him remember those little events. December is my niece's birthday month. The Sunday closest to her birthday, we were going to help her celebrate, get a cake, and make dinner. After Sunday, I dropped Dad off at home, and we both remembered we forgot her cake. So Dad had a list of groceries and said he was going to run up to Ladysmith, get his groceries, and get the cake, and he'd be back in time for dinner. So when we all got there, my older sister asked him, "Where's the cake?" He had forgotten the cake. He made the special trip all the way to Ladysmith, but he forgot the cake. The look on my dad's face was priceless. Those Sunday and Thursday nights, we told many stories about our childhood memories, our dreams, nightmares we had, and probably had a lot of confessing from our days in high school. Those nights, we learned more about my father's childhood and the time he had in the military and the fun, loving man he truly was. To conclude, these stories we share is proof that our father was a great farmer that taught us so much about providing for a family. He taught us that life isn't easy and it's unpredictable. But he also taught us that life can be as much fun as we make it. We all have memorable stories of our father. Because we live on a farm, many of our stories include animals of some kind, whether it be steers, dogs, cats, or even skunks. Unfortunately, those animals may not have had the best life on that farm, but I'm pretty sure every one of us kids and grandkids did, thanks to our dad.